Today's proceedings in the trial of Chris Carbert and Anthony Olenek lasted under 2 hours for reasons I can't describe because of a publication ban. Robert Kraychik here in Lethbridge, Alberta, reporting for Rebel News. Chris Carbert and Anthony Olenek are charged with a series of crimes related to their roles, their participation in the 2022 Coutts protest and blockade. This demonstration was adjacent to, concurrent with the Freedom Convoy in Ottawa, Ontario of the same year. And the two protests involved civil disobedience and broad ideological alignments. Specifically, they were opposed to a series of edicts, mandates, orders issued by all levels of government, ostensibly for the purposes of public health to reduce transmission of COVID-19. Both Carbert and Olenek are charged with conspiracy to murder. The Crown is accusing them both of conspiring to murder police officers. Both are also charged with unlawful possession of firearms for a purpose contrary to public peace, and both are also charged with mischief inducing over $5,000 of damage. Olenek, however, is uniquely charged with unlawful possession of an explosive device for purposes opposite to the public peace. While the publication ban on pretrial proceedings is over in a way, given that pretrial proceedings concluded and the proper trial has begun, there is still a publication ban on any proceedings that occur in the absence of the jury. And today there was a matter that was being addressed by the two parties in the absence of the jury, which means that I cannot report on that until the jury retires for deliberations to render its verdict. Today's proceedings began at 9:45 in the morning, a little bit earlier than they usually begin, which is 10 in the morning Mountain Time. The earlier start time was to allow for an issue to be resolved between the prosecution and defense teams that was slated yesterday. And this issue was to be resolved in the absence of the jury. So when the jury's not in the courtroom, those proceedings are subject to a publication ban, so I can't report on them. To add insult to injury in terms of my lack of ability to report, some other matter arose today which required resolution between the prosecution, defense teams, and judge, which had to take place in the absence of the jury. And again, since the jury was not there in the courtroom to observe these proceedings, they're subject to a publication ban, so I cannot report on that either. In the course of my attendance here at the Lethbridge Courthouse reporting on this trial, obviously, I've gotten to know many of the regulars here, many of whom are friends and family of the accused. And one of the sentiments that came across today as a function of these delays is that these sorts of procedural hangups only extend the time it takes to get to the end of this process, an arduous one for the two defendants. So the families of the defendants, their loved ones, their friends are concerned that all this does is extend the difficulty, the hardship that these two men are enduring while in remand, while in police custody, and while having this uncertainty about their futures given these ongoing charges. And keep in mind that the two defendants, Chris Carbert and Anthony Olenek, have been in remand, which means police custody. They've been held in Lethbridge Correctional Center, a prison which houses men convicted of violent crimes like murder and aggravated assault, since February 14th of 2022, when they were initially arrested. That's about 850 days in police custody. This matter that came up in the absence of the jury, which I can't report on, is now being adjudicated or resolved in the courtroom. Now, why am I not there? Because it's an in-camera session, meaning that media and observers cannot be in the courtroom while this matter is being addressed. Catherine Bayak, who is the defense attorney representing Chris Carbert, told me once this in-camera session was about to begin that she speculated it would not be resolved by the end of the day, 4:30 p.m. Mountain Time, meaning that it's unlikely that anyone, media or observers, will get back into the courtroom today. Unlike the so-called mainstream media, the legacy establishment media outlets, Rebel News is not receiving any sort of grants or subsidies or funding from the federal government. We're also demonetized across many digital platforms for asking the wrong questions. Keep in mind that we can't produce this sort of in-the-field journalism for free. We have operational costs. In this case, that involves getting me out here to Lethbridge from Ottawa to get airfare, to get a rental car, to get accommodation, to pay for consumables like food and gas. So please, folks, contribute to us so we can keep this project going. You can do so at truckertrials.com, and also through there, stay up to date with our ongoing journalism of this trial.